being here. But before we get started with tonight's events, we are going to start with a opening prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem. So I just want to thank God for having us all here tonight, giving us the determination to correct what is wrong in this country of ours, and may He watch over all of us in this room and keep us safe during these uncertain times. Saying the Pledge of Allegiance tonight is Jerry Passar, head chairman of the Conservative Party in New York State.
Raise the flag. Stand over your heart. Or salute, if appropriate. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And here to sing the national anthem is Heather. Approximately 8 years ago, when things started changing in the city, I noticed how law enforcement was being treated, or I should say mistreated, and I decided as a New York City public school teacher that as a sister in service to my city, I needed to do something about it and make a change. And I realized at the time that social media was one of the ways to go about that change and bring across a message very easily. So I started the page in support of the wonderful men and women of the New York City Police Department, and I aptly named it Thank You NYPD. Through that page, it has brought me to Bill and why we are here tonight. I am honored to be in the presence of the line of duty families that are here with us tonight. They have been extremely supportive of us, and as always, we just want to thank them for being here. And I know it's a Thursday night and life happens, so I do appreciate you all coming out here and showing me support at the beautiful Retro restaurant tonight. So, 8 years ago, we started to see a change in the city. Everybody thinks that change started happening about a year ago, but that's not so. The people of New York City somehow put into one of the most prestigious spots in government a mayor who is inadequate, undeserving of that seat. And as a person who's raising a family in New York City, I cannot see my city deteriorate any more than it already has. God has crossed my paths with Bill And Bill will tell you I am skeptical of everybody. However, when I heard Bill speak, I could instantly sense that what his mission is not coming from a place of ego, is not coming from a place of being self-absorbed. It's an honest, desperate plea to save his city that he desperately and truly loves. And we know that because of his service to his city, being in the police department. So I thank you for that, Bill. Tonight we're here to start that change. I don't believe in any candidate like I believe in Bill. I usually don't dabble in politics because I don't have hope in a lot of the candidates, but Bill does represent something different. And I think people are scared of that, and I think people are intimidated of that because he will not be bought and sold. He will go out there and save this city before we truly go into extinction. So tonight we have a special guest speaker that would like to say a few things on behalf of Bill and on behalf of the city. He is a retired 3-star chief of transit in the New York Police Department, who I greatly admire and adore, who continues to be extremely supportive of the police department even throughout his retirement, and I also thank him for that. So on my behalf, I would like to invite up Chief Joseph Fox.
Decided, can you hear me?
Yep.
I just decided that I'm going to ask Anna to speak at my funeral. You're going to have to be patient, though, because it won't be for another 15 days. But thank you, Anna. Thank you so much. As always, my husband Anthony is over here filming, like we did with the 42 visits that we did throughout the city. Thank you, Emily, for you, and a lot of your families. Who, by the way, for those who didn't get to actually speak with them, over that table on the right is Grace Machadi, whose husband Robert was killed, shot in the line of duty in Brooklyn. I know you're filming, Grace, this is 1991. I know you're filming, but 89. But could you stand up so we can see who you are, please? And then this table next to her is Carla Cacavalli, whose husband, Papa George, detective, husband, father, died when she was 20 days old in 1970. And what an amazing job she's done carrying out his life. Quite a speech she made at one of our visits. It was actually the last one before the COVID numbers got high at Sunset Park. And what was the last count? 30,000, 50,000 views all over the world. Really something. Opposite Carla was Millie Alcamo, whose husband Joe was killed in the line of duty in Rockaways, not far from where I live now, in 1992. Yes. Millie, can we see who you are? And Maria Dijikowski, sitting next to Millie, her husband in 1989. Matthew was killed after they had Valentine's Day dinner, and he was saving the life of the police officers in Staten Island. Millie, Maria. So I did 37 years with NYPD. I was very, very fortunate that 20 of those 17 years was as a chief. I still wonder how it happened, and I still, anytime anybody makes a big deal out of that or anything else about it, I really don't know how it happened. People tell me I worked hard for it, and I know I did, but people work hard all over the world, and I just blessed with so much. I won't call it success, opportunities to make an impact, and I'll take every opportunity that I can as long as I breathe to make an impact wherever I can, wherever I can, with whoever I can. The number is 37 years, but by my book it's 41, because I haven't stopped doing what I love doing most, and that's supporting the young men and women who carry out the mission of public safety. My job was never public safety. My job, I think a leader's job is putting the men and women who carry out that mission. And speaking of that mission, I got to meet some really wonderful people, and one is standing next to me, Pepitone. And we have a picture that we both have that hung on the walls of Brooklyn South, right up until I left, I did 11 years there, of the first responders, police officers who were there on September 11th. And Bill was there from the task force, a good cop, a good team. And we went around the city 6 months later, the borough, and took these photos, this wall of honor. So that's where we go back to, and of course we lost track of each other, and we sure got connected again last year, as he stood up and continues to stand up to save the city. But regarding saving the city, just let me put a little perspective on it. There's no one here that needs me to tell anyone here how bad this is, but I can give you some perspectives from policing that maybe is not reported, and maybe even in the people in this room that doesn't know. In a nutshell, there's two things. I opened all of my remarks when we did those visits with the police officers by turning to the cops and saying, remember when elected officials, whenever a police officer was seriously injured, killed, God forbid, and they all said, an attack on a police officer is an attack on all of us, it's an attack on society. And the cops' heads all nod, like heads are nodding here. And then I say, has anyone heard that lately? And the heads all shake like this. Think about that. They don't even find the words to say that anymore. No tweets that say that. No public statements. That was a given that every single elected said that. So this is how far left it is and how much pandering is happening that they don't want to say that because it may anger people. That's how bad it is. And guess what? That wasn't a cliche. That was not a cliche. That was a reality. When something happens to police officers, it's an attack on us. And when police officers are not supported, it's an attack on society. It's a withdrawal from protecting society. And it sends a message that crime is okay. And in a nutshell, they basically decriminalized crime and criminalized policing. And look at the result. Well, regarding the result, let me give you a little that's not in the box scores, not in the news, and you may not know or see. Some of you may. But I have an eye for this stuff. And every day, wherever I go through the city, every single day, I see graffiti that I did not see the day before. It just continues and continues, and no one's thinking to say stop it. And we know the conditions in the city. I go there occasionally. And it's not just, it's driving on the highway. And you know those cars going by like 90 miles an hour in between traffic? It's like we see it constantly. Because there's a tone. Highway cops can't be everywhere. And there's a tone that nobody cares. Nobody cares, and it's okay. Because if you say it's okay to burn down a police precinct and riot back in May of 2020, then everything else is okay as well. And that's what's happening. Police officers with all these bail reform and discovery laws, that so-called reform package. Here's a piece that most people don't know. Narcotics, very important piece of law enforcement. Say taking drug dealers off the street. So the way that works is an undercover goes out, makes a buy. The people are selling get collared. There's a plea deal, and the people who are arrested don't know, how they got arrested. They take the plea, maybe get a little jail time in the past. Now, because of discovery, they know that night, the first court appearance, that they sold to an undercover. So now, the undercover's out there trying to buy drugs, and look how dangerous it is. And they don't hold them. They don't keep on bail. 11 collars, 15 for drug sales, just out in a few hours. So there's a lot at stake here. There's a lot at stake. This is important. And I mean, look at what we have facing before us now. I mean, this mayor, Blasio. Look at his Twitter account. You want to really feel bad? Look at when he could put something up about alternate side, being canceled. And forget about the people who are more on the right who are criticizing him and saying, shame on you for what you've done to the city. There's more people on the far left who are saying that he's allowing Gestapo police to operate in the city. So there's a lot at stake here. This is dangerous. And look at the alternatives. I mean, look at the other people running the Democrat Party. This Yang, right? Andrew Yang, is it? So when Israel was attacked, he tweets out, bad thing to do, right? And then he tweets out the next day, you know what, thinking about it, probably a bad thing in general. God bless the Palestinians, God bless the people of Israel. And he actually says, because a staffer told him that he really should come out with another perspective. And that's what this mayor has been doing, the council. They've been going by what people with signs on a stick say in the street. They've been passing the legislation. So that's how important this is, that we get out there and mobilize. I mean, people were saying that, have been saying that this mayor is horrible and worst thing for the city. Not during his second term only. They said it after his first day. And 22% of the voters came out. So, you know, whose fault is that he's here? He did far more damage in the last 4 years. So this is really important. And everyone here is here for Bill Pepitone. So I'm not going to tell anyone here why he should be mayor. So I'll turn and tell you. Thank you for taking this plunge, for putting yourself out there. It gives us hope. From the day I met you, it gave me hope. It gives all the people who love what you put out, which is right, makes sense, it's profound, it's fighting in a good way. Your presence at the rallies, your presence with our visit, by the way, and you're the guy to do it. And this is important. And you can lead the city and bring the city back. And everyone here and those not here are with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Always a home run. Next, I would like to bring up Nancy Rodin.
I'm the short one. I met Bill last week. I think he decided to run June 11th, and I met him on June 15th on a bench in Staten Island. And I was prepared to tell him, don't even bother, you don't have a shot. Within an hour, I said, let's do it. Everybody who knows Bill knows he has the right heart, the right mind, and the right drive. It's just a matter of all of us pulling together and getting the word out there for him. I've been with him since last June. I'm out with him when he's meeting people, not these grand little circuses and promos and stuff like that. He's out talking to people. I watch people go from being like, yeah, right, to, we love this guy, what can we do for you? I've seen him diffuse situations where people were attacking him, cursing, like, who the hell do you think you are? He diffuses, he listens, he diffuses it, he responds to them, and they have him on, he gets them on his side. What we all need to do, and we're building a good grassroots campaign, is to let everyone see who Bill Pepitone is. And right now I'd like to introduce our next mayor.
Thank you, Nancy. That was very nice. I want to start off by first asking everybody to do me a favor. We have some very special people here tonight. Chief Fox introduced them, but if you can, please rise with me and have a nice loud ovation for the families of those we've lost in the line. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I'm completely humbled that everybody actually came out to listen to me here tonight. So thank you so much. I truly, truly appreciate it. First, a couple of thank yous. Thank you to Anna, who at a time where not only in this city, but across the country, police officers were being attacked, vilified, criticized, demonized, she stood up, put together a Facebook page called Thank You NYPD. That page has drawn over 100,000 followers. She supported the NYPD and law enforcement at a time where it wasn't popular. That took a lot of guts and a lot of courage. Thank you for that. Thank you to Chief Fox for once again his kind words. I'll tell you a quick story about Chief Fox. When he was the chief of Brooklyn South and I worked for the Brooklyn South Task Force. As a police officer, we used to go up to the borough offices now and then, and that's where the chief's office. So you had to learn how to dodge the white shirts and the stars as quickly and as agilely as possible. So you would see the white shirt coming towards you with the gold, and you would either make a left into the bathroom, duck under a desk, grab a piece of paper, pretend you're reading an order, whatever it took. But you never did that with Chief Fox, because he was all about respect, mutual respect. He was a gentleman, one of the most respected people in the history of the police department, and I am proud not only to have worked for him, but to call him my friend. Thank you, sir. After 9/11, a couple of months after 9/11, Chief Fox, as he spoke about, had pictures of all the responding teams, responding commands that went to 9/11. Again, it was a couple of months after, and you can imagine what our morale was like, what our state of mind was like. Chief Fox pulled every command in Brooklyn South to Grand Army Plaza and had us take pictures. Take photos with him, with our units. That was amazing. It lifted our spirits. Again, the most respected man in the NYPD. Thank you again. Before I go any further, there are two people that I want to thank, that I wouldn't be here without. Now, I'm going to probably make fun of them during my speech, so right now I want to be nice to them. Ladies and gentlemen, my parents, Bill and Rosemary. Wouldn't be here without them. Thank you. So, how did I get here? How did we get here? How did a shy, quiet kid from Brooklyn end up running for New York City mayor? Well, it's a long story. Let's start in 1967. Many of you know my Uncle Joe used to play for the Yankees. But what you don't know, probably don't know, is that my dad was a hell of a ball player himself, played for the San Francisco Giants organization.
Wow.
And he was on the fast track. He was on the fast track to the major leagues, but two obstacles got in the way. One, he couldn't hit a curveball. Two, he had this beautiful, intelligent baby boy come along in 1967. So he had to make a choice, a life decision. My mother, who was the most amazing, supportive woman I've ever met, gave him 6 words of support. 6 words she told him that would help him make that decision. Grow up and get a job. So he had to make that decision. Baseball was over, and he became a New York City police officer in 1973. He was a New York City police officer, New York City firefighter, New York City fire marshal for 27 years. Over the years, a lot of people have asked me why I didn't become a fireman and follow in his footsteps when he went over to FD. I'll tell you a quick story why. 1980, I was 13 years old, and my father was badly injured in a fire in Brooklyn. His leg was badly burned, he was hospitalized for quite a while. On my 8th grade graduation day, I went up to the hospital to see him dressed in my cap and gown. And he was laying in the hospital bed with tubes, and he didn't look good, and I missed him. I missed him terribly, and I missed him being at my graduation. While we were there that day, one of the high-ranking chiefs of the fire department walked into the hospital room to see how everybody was doing, spoke to my dad, spoke to my mom. And while he was there, he looked at me and he said, "Young Billy, are you going to follow in your father's footsteps and be a brave New York City firefighter?" And I looked at my dad lying in the bed, and I said, "Oh, hell no. Hell no, that's not for me. Not a chance. Not a chance." And he just looked at me and walked out of the room, so that was it. That was the end of my fire department career. My mother was happy with that at the time, but then, of course, 1989, I was hired by the New York City Police Department. It was a dream come true. It's what I always wanted to be since the days of Starsky and Hutch and SWAT and Miami Vice. I always knew I was going to be a cop here in New York City. For the next 14 years, I worked in the Brooklyn South Task Force. And one point I want to bring up, Grace Machadi, Nicole Machadi. I got there 2 years after Bobby was killed in the line of duty. And I can tell you both, the stories they told me of Bobby, the memories, what they taught me about him, he was revered, not only as a cop, but as a man. So thank you for sharing him with us. It was a great honor. While I was in the Brooklyn South Task Force, we responded to some of the most high-profile incidents really in the history of New York City. Crown Heights riot, the Washington Heights riot, Rikers Island takeover, numerous anti-war demonstrations, riots all across the city during the 90s. And of course, both attacks on the World Trade Center. I was the first responder with my unit to the attack in 1993, and then of course 9/11. And 9/11 changed who we are, changed who I am. I'm sure it changed all of us. Chief Fox's leadership got us through it, without question. After 14 years in the Brooklyn South Task Force, I decided to make a bit of a career change. I didn't know if I wanted to go the promotion route, if I wanted to go the investigatory route. I had learned so much from the police officers in Brooklyn South from day one, when the veteran officers took me under their wing and taught me about what it's like to be a cop, what it's like to be on the streets, that I wanted to give something back. So I applied for and was accepted into New York City Police Academy as a tactics instructor. And I was able to train about 2,500 recruits per year. And it wasn't just book stuff. We were in the gym, we were doing tactics, teaching them how to survive on the streets of New York City. Right now, thousands of cops are on these streets protecting all of us. I have the honor of training them. It's one of the greatest honors in my career, especially when I see them and they say, "Hey, Instructor Pepitone, how are you?" It's a great feeling. I feel really old now because, my hair's getting grayer. But the fact that they recognize me and remember me is really a truly great feeling. I retired after 20 years with the NYPD. Not a regret. My only regret is that I wished it away too fast. Too many of us, and Chief, I'm sure you can attest to this, too many police officers wish their career away. I want to get to 20 years and get out, move away. You wish it away and it goes too fast. And I retired and I tell you, I miss it. I miss people like Chief Fox. I miss my partners. I had the greatest partners in the world. I miss my comrades at the Brooklyn South Task Force, at the Academy. I really do. I miss it. I know it's hard to believe that right now with the climate and the atmosphere, but I really, really do miss it. I miss everyone. When I retired, I had a decision to make. Very tough family decision. My young daughter was diagnosed with autism at 22 months old. I did not have confidence in the New York City public education system that they would be able to help her and give her what she needs. And that's a sad statement. And it's one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor. Because I had to leave New York City. The city that I grew up in, the city that I served, the city I love, I had to leave for the sake of my daughter. I moved out to Pennsylvania, and I can tell you that it was the right decision. Because we got her the counseling she needed, the therapy she needed, the schooling she needed, unbelievable resources. And I can tell you right now, she's an amazing 14-year-old girl right now thanks to that decision. So we made the right one. That's one of the reasons I'm running. I don't want any family to have to make that decision. I don't want any family to be able to make a decision where they have to leave New York City for the sake of their children. So we're going to fix that. While I was in Pennsylvania, I got involved in politics. I made that decision and that turn, and I decided to get involved in a mayoral race in my borough. With 6 weeks to go in the election, all of a sudden I decided to get involved. Let me try it. I can fix this. I can fix the problems we have. In 6 weeks, as a write-in candidate in a borough where nobody had heard of me, I defeated the Republican on the ballot and finished a close second to the incumbent Democrat. I turned that into a success 2 years later. 2 years later, when I ran for council, I won, and I soundly defeated the 25-year Democratic incumbent to become a councilman in my borough. So that was a great experience, but I can tell you this. If you think New York politics is bad, if you think national politics is bad, you haven't seen small town politics. I had people curse me in church. You know when you say, "Peace be with you," and you turn around and shake people's hands? Well, they would turn around, put their hand out and say, Oh, the cop from New York. And pull their hands back. Oh, the Republican from New York. And pull their hands back. In church. It was unbelievable. It is vicious, small town politics. But it gave me a little taste of what I was going to be up against years later. Just a little taste. While I was there, I had another life decision to make. Life throws you curveballs, and like my father, I wasn't great at hitting curveballs either. But I had to make a decision. And my decision was to come back to New York. I needed to be back in New York City. I needed to be back around things familiar, my family, things that looked familiar, sounded familiar, tasted familiar. I needed to be back here. So I came back. And it was the right move. Last June, I was sitting on my couch watching the news, and I watched as my city, our city, was being burned, destroyed, looted, police officers being attacked. I watched as cops stood on the line and got bottles thrown at them, rocks thrown at them, Molotov cocktails thrown at them, police cars burned. It took me back to Crown Heights in 1991, and I could tell you as I sat on that couch how angry I was getting. I wanted to be out there with them. I had been there before, and I felt helpless. I felt helpless as my city burned, and nobody did a damn thing about it. Not a damn thing. This mayor, this city council, our leaders stood by and watched New York City burn. And I had to make another choice. I sat and I talked to my girlfriend Kathy, who's right over here, retired U.S. Army Sergeant. She's my rock, my backbone. I looked at her and I said, I can't watch this anymore. You know, I could go on Facebook and curse the mayor and go on Twitter and do a nasty tweet, but I can't watch this anymore. I have to do something. And I said, you know what? I'm going to run for mayor. Now, I expected her to say, yeah, have another cookie, you'll feel better, it'll pass. But that's not who Kathy is. Kathy looked at me and said, you can fix this. You can do this. I was like, you know, you're right. I think I can. Next day I told my mother. I went to my parents' house, I told my mother. She looked at me, and my mother's always been supportive. She said, if that's what you want, I'm behind you 100%. My father was on the computer looking at Facebook when I told him. He looked up at me and said, yeah, go ahead. About 20 minutes later, he kicked in and he said, what? You're doing what? But he's come around now. He's starting to believe I'm actually doing it. So yes, Kathy gave me the support that I needed. My parents gave me the support I needed. I met with Nancy that day on that bench in Staten Island. Somebody had told me that Nancy was involved in politics. Turns out, Nancy knew my family for 40 years, and we clicked right away. And I know she came there to talk me out of it, and I know she left believing in me. So thank you, Nancy, for that.